Jess, hi, my name is Jess, and this is Vox. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Ben Habib, former Deputy Leader of Reform. Ben, how are you finding the conference so far? Ben Habib, it's fantastic to be among so many like-minded people. Nothing quite like an echo chamber to boost morale, right? Jess, absolutely. My first question is, do you think Britain is in decline, or is there still hope? Ben Habib, there is absolutely hope. In fact, I feel more optimistic now than I did 6 months ago. Why? Because across the Atlantic, we have a new American administration that is making the right decisions for the United States, a country that has been facing the same challenges as we have. Their leadership gives me confidence that we, too, can turn things around. The US is the world's most powerful democracy, and J.D. Vance recently calling out European leaders has sent a clear message. Britain and Europe need to align or risk being left behind. I believe our politicians will wake up and start making the right choices for the country. Jess, do you think that political shift will come from Reform, the Conservative Party, or elsewhere? Ben Habib, well, it's unlikely to come from Labour, though even they might moderate their stance. Right now, Labour is an extremely left-wing party. For me, though, it doesn't really matter whether it's Reform or the Conservatives. What's important is that they get the job done. Jess, and what do you define as the job that needs to be done? When it comes to immigration, for example, I feel none of the parties go far enough. I've lived in both Bolton and Tottenham, and in the latter, I'm one of the few white people I see on the streets. Immigration control alone doesn't seem sufficient. How do we restore the Britain of the past? Ben Habib, over the past 30 to 40 years, Western governments have pushed against the idea of nation-states, believing they hinder global prosperity and peace. As a result, they've neglected what it means to be British and have failed to protect and prioritize the interests of British citizens. This globalist mindset has led to policies that welcome everyone without considering the impact on national identity. Beyond that, we've developed a legal and regulatory framework that shields minority groups, whether ethnic, religious, or ideological, often at the expense of national cohesion. Instead of fostering true multiculturalism, where different communities integrate and cross-pollinate, we've created separate cultural silos. Some of these communities hold values that are openly hostile to Britain. This fragmentation is causing societal disintegration. To fix this, we need to recognize the root of the problem and begin reversing the policies that have damaged the country. This includes repealing legislation dating back to the Human Rights Act of 1998, reforming institutions like the Bank of England, Ofcom, and the Electoral Commission, and reassessing our participation in international treaties and organizations. Politicians must be held accountable, and we need leaders with real-world experience, not career politicians who have spent their lives insulated in Westminster. That's why I'm working on my Great British Political Action Committee. It's not just a think tank, it's a pressure group designed to ensure politicians have the right vision and the right people to execute it. I remain hopeful because change is coming, especially as shifts in America influence Europe. Jess, one topic that often sparks debate is the definition of British identity. Many people struggle to define what it means to be British. How would you define it? Ben Habib, the ability to define British identity has been deliberately eroded. Instead, people now rely on legal documents, like the Human Rights Act, to describe their rights rather than their national identity. Being British isn't just about a set of rights. It's about pride in our country, understanding our history, and recognizing the legacy that shapes our modern existence. That's why our history is constantly under attack. If they can undermine our past, they remove our national context, our sense of belonging, and our pride. It's all intentional. They don't want people to feel proud of being British, and they don't want us to have a clear sense of national identity. One surefire way to provoke a reaction from the left is to express pride in the British Empire. I proudly do so. My pinned post on social media is all about the British Empire, and I stand by it, regardless of criticism. Jess, you define being British as having national pride. But what about those born here, whose families go back generations, yet openly criticize or even despise the country? Would you say they aren't British? Ben Habib, no, they are still British, but they are anti-British. This includes many of our own leaders, including our Prime Minister and most of the cabinet. They do not prioritize Britain's interests. Jess, there was a recent poll showing that nearly half of young people don't feel proud to be British, and almost 40% say they wouldn't fight for the country. Why do you think that is? Ben Habib, it stems from the globalist agenda, the false belief that true prosperity comes from dismantling strong nation-states. After World War II, there was a need for international cooperation to prevent further conflict. That's why institutions like the UN and the European Court of Justice were established. But over time, this internationalism has gone too far, weakening national identity in favor of a global order. I'm not against international cooperation, but Britain should engage with the world as a proud, sovereign nation. We shouldn't be subsumed into international frameworks that diminish our independence. The pendulum has swung too far toward globalism, and we need to bring it back to national sovereignty. Jess, why do you think national and community pride is so important? Ben Habib, national and community identity are fundamental to any nation's survival. Take Pakistan, for example. My father was Pakistani, and I lived there until I was 13. The Pakistani flag is everywhere. There are no LGBTQ+ flags, only the national flag. Images of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the country's founder, are displayed everywhere. From an early age, Pakistanis are instilled with a deep sense of national pride. Contrast that with Britain, where we don't even teach our children to sing the national anthem in school. The Union Jack is often seen as divisive, and the St. George's Cross is unfairly associated with extremism. This is nonsense. These are our national symbols, and we must reclaim them. To reiterate, Keir Starmer and his ideology are fundamentally anti-British. The far left hates this country. Our priority must be to remove them from power. Jess, Well, thank you so much for your time, Ben. It's been great speaking with you. Ben Habib, my pleasure. Thank you.